Hey guys, welcome to The Strong Young Man. How you accept and deal with rejection determines the health of your relationship with the concept of rejection. If you've never been rejected, then you've never tried anything risky. Rejection comes about because people pursue an opportunity and are unsuccessful. By avoiding rejection of any kind, you prevent yourself from ever becoming successful. Getting rejected in any endeavour you pursue doesn't make you any less of a man. However, getting rejected and then taking something away from it will make you more of a man than your peers who never experience rejection. There are no real failures in rejection, only opportunities to learn. Seeing rejection in this light will help you to embrace rejection and enable you to pursue more opportunities, which will eventually bring you more personal and professional successes. Today's episode is going to run through why you fear rejection, how to handle rejection when it happens to you, and then how to use rejection to your advantage. Before we start, I want to make it clear that for today's episode, the concept of rejection will be discussed in the context of perhaps the most debilitating form of rejection for young men, social rejection from women. Just understand that any form of rejection from anyone or anything should be handled with the same approach. The first thing that you need to understand is that all humans experience some form of rejection eventually, in one way or another. The second thing you need to understand is that life isn't fair, and some people experience more rejection than others. Understand that as a male, you will always experience more rejection than females. Females will always reject males more than males reject females, because females are the sexual selectors. Young men in particular will have increased exposure to being rejected by women, and entitled Western women can sometimes be unbelievably malicious in their rejections. If you're a male under 25, it can be a tough period of your life. It's a time where you're exposed to the most rejection, and your brain hasn't fully matured enough to handle it well. This is just another thing that modern women fail to understand about their interactions with young men. They can be so cruel in their rejections that a lot of men become petrified of women. The better looking the woman is, the more anxious they become. See the following matrix of the pros of approaching a woman. As you can see, the pros are pretty straightforward, remembering that there are positives to a failed approach highlighted in columns 2 and 3. Now let's take a look at the cons of approaching a woman. A failed approach means you will experience social rejection leading to immediate embarrassment, the potential to develop a fear of rejection, and the potential to develop resentment towards women in general. The logical coping strategy would be to not approach women at all, right? Well, this comes with its own set of problems. Yes, you avoid the embarrassment associated with the social rejection, but here's what it costs you. Firstly, you will have to live with the regret that you have lost an opportunity forever, which is almost always more debilitating and costly than the rejection would have been anyway. Secondly, this will not do anything to conquer your fear of rejection. You actually make sure that you retain this fear. Understand that you cannot eliminate fear. The only thing that you can do with fear is to conquer it, and this can only be done by facing fear, not through avoiding it. I'll unpack this process in depth in a future episode coming soon. Finally, you do not escape the chance that you become resentful. You actually make it a certainty, directing it in one or more of the following 3 ways. 1. You maintain the resentment towards women, becoming bitter. 2. You redirect your resentment towards men who are successful with women. Or 3. You turn the resentment inwards onto yourself in the form of self-loathing. Building resentment towards women, men, or yourself will cause you a world of problems long term. Resentment is an emotion that manifests as a self-administered punishment and is more damaging to yourself than the psychological trauma of the rejection. This is why embracing the potential trauma of a social rejection is preferable to avoiding the social rejection. Understand that your brain will actually force you to perceive and behave in the opposite way in the moment. Your brain will view the pain of rejection as significantly more costly than the loss of opportunities that loom in the future. This is partially because regret from action stings humans more than regret from inaction, due to a larger investment cost and loss and humans' inclination to be loss averse. That is to say that a loss will be experienced as significantly more painful than a proportional gain. Another reason that your brain perceives the pain of immediate rejection as significantly more costly than the loss of opportunities that loom in the future is that humans have evolved to weigh costs and benefits more heavily in the present than in the future, a behaviour known as hyperbolic discounting by economists. Organisms that treated immediate dangers and rewards more urgent than dangers or rewards looming in the future have a better chance to survive and reproduce. The pain experienced through rejection is very real and is perceived as an immediate threat to our survival. Brain scans show that the emotional pain caused from a rejection elicits a similar response to physical pain. Once you experience the pain of rejection once, your brain will learn to link this pain with an unsuccessful approach. Through hyperbolic discounting, when presented with a similar scenario, the human brain will prioritise avoiding this pain over any future rewards that emanate from a successful approach. This all happens on a semi-conscious level as a coping mechanism for the anticipated psychological pain. These psychological coping mechanisms are mainly defensive and commonly consist of avoiding situations that open you up to rejection, but can also consist of you becoming aggressive towards a person or a group of people rejecting you. Understand that getting rejected when you aren't emotionally attached will sting much less than if you wait until such a time that you develop an emotional attachment. When emotions are involved, rejection can hit you at your core, triggering all sorts of pain, especially if you're vulnerable. Learn to distance yourself emotionally from the entity that can reject you. If possible, put yourself out there before you become emotionally invested. This will give you the greatest chance of success and will build less resentment when you are inevitably rejected. Understanding the psychology behind the nature of rejection and how your unconscious can dictate your behaviour should make it easy to embrace the rejection and pursue successful opportunities. When you do inevitably get rejected by a woman, just understand that you'll be better off without her. Your masculine energy is better spent invested in someone else. After being rejected by someone, you should move away from that person. Ignoring them is the best way forward. Being around them will not serve your purpose and it will not add value to your life. If you continue to acknowledge or invest in a woman after she rejects you, you give that woman's rejection more credibility. If you experience pain from that rejection, it will be drawn out longer and you cause more problems for yourself. If you run into them from time to time, indifference is the best strategy. Being indifferent to people who reject you is extremely powerful. By pretending they don't exist, any feeling they had of superiority generated from the rejection is invalidated. People are powerful because other people acknowledge that power. The same goes for seduction, which requires you to give your attention and acknowledgement to another. When rejected, you should demonstrate anti-seduction and withhold attention and acknowledgement to remind them that you have no interest in seducing them anymore. You demonstrate your own superiority by not letting their rejection affect you. That will force the person to question whether they made the right choice in rejecting you. The less interest you reveal, the more superior you seem. Remember that you choose to let things bother you. You could just as easily choose to not notice them or not let them bother you. In doing this, you will communicate how unworthy that person is of your interest. Know that while a woman has rejected you, you can still serve a purpose for her. She may want to keep you around as a male orbiter. When you orbit around her, you are a reminder of how many options she has and it serves to boost her ego. Do not give her this satisfaction. Get the balance of power back on your terms by being ignorant to their existence. Don't be hateful towards them either. This is just as counterproductive. Hate means you still feel some sort of emotion towards them, and that means you're still emotionally invested in them. Indifference is the best strategy. The best way to live is to focus on yourself and other people who accept you for who you are. Being rejected by a woman doesn't mean you're worthless. It just means that she's not wise enough to see your value. Start to think of rejection from a woman as redirection. Also remember that women will always filter for hypergamous optimization. This is based on how well you align with what they believe they are entitled to in a man, in the context of their perception of their own sexual market value at the time. Women often overestimate their own sexual market value, especially women the wrong side of 25. Understand that a woman's high sexual market value is short-lived. In only a few short years, many of these women who reject you today will be nothing more than frantic post-walled women who come to regret knocking back some of the missed opportunities. I pity the ignorant women who find themselves in this position. Strive to be this missed opportunity. Focus on self-improvement and it's a sure bet that you'll be better off than her in 10 years. Men who take care of themselves always do better with age. It's one of the best things about being a man. Take note of this if you are young and take nothing personally. A real man takes rejection in his stride, knowing full well that a woman that doesn't want him is incapable at recognising his potential. Don't allow yourself to get bitter and resentful. Some people become so bitter and resentful that they allow their rejection to bubble over into hate and revenge. One young person, Elliot Roger, even murdered 6 people in California in order to exact revenge on women due to past rejections. He killed himself as part of this too. He allowed his bitterness to bubble over and destroy his life. Check out the last video before his rampage, shown here and linked in the description. He also wrote a 140-page manifesto entitled My Twisted World. What a waste of a life. A similar fate happened to 10 people in Canada, where Alec Banassian used a vehicle to murder 10 people. He will live out his life in jail, unlike other murderers such as George Sedini, who also killed himself. Revenge is a dangerous way to deal with rejection, and you will never teach the lesson you were trying to teach by enacting your revenge. Revenge is a very, very hard road, and it doesn't come cheap. At the very least, revenge will cost you time and effort, even if only in plotting your revenge. These are the intangible costs, often not thought about. At the very worst, revenge can kill you. Before you embark on a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves, Confucius. Look at what happened to Captain Ahab in Moby Dick and the Whale. For as long as you consider revenge, you will still be attached to the emotions of that rejection. You are better served channeling this powerful force of energy into learning from the rejection and bettering yourself in general. If you are able to approach the rejection logically, from a third-person perspective, divorced from emotions, you'll be able to easily consider that the overall efforts and resources necessary in order to exact revenge do not outweigh the things that could be achieved if those efforts and resources were redirected into self-improvement. The pain of rejection can be used as a spark to ignite your desire to participate in self-improvement. Just be careful with this though. If your desire to participate in self-improvement is built on the foundation of a rejection, your desire to continue to self-improve will wane as the pain from the rejection subsides. So use the pain from a rejection to kickstart your self-improvement, and then cultivate the drive from within. The most permanent kind of change of any sort is one that serves one's own interests and is not tied to anyone else's. If you are rejection sensitive and you're avoiding putting yourself in a situation where you might be rejected, don't be ashamed. It's natural to feel this way. Especially as a young man, it's extremely tough. I'm challenging you to come out of your shell slowly over the next few months. The first time you're going to put yourself out there, don't approach the situation expecting to be rejected. If you expect rejection, then you will bring it upon yourself. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Come into the interaction confident that you won't be rejected. If a person is sensitive to rejection, they will generally emit an aura that screams that they lack self-confidence. Try to change this appearance. Change this appearance by changing the way you interact with people leading up to the interaction. It may be beneficial to get over your fear by approaching an ugly or older woman that you aren't interested in as a sacrifice. This serves to build up your confidence, which you can then radiate onto the next woman. Don't feel bad about using women like this to boost your own self-confidence. Women do this all the time, using the attention of men to boost their ego. Invert the concept on them to get things back on your terms. When you are ready to embrace the rejection, you must not hesitate. Enter the interaction boldly and with confidence. A confident man does not hesitate. When you become comfortable with rejection, it means that you are secure within yourself enough to be okay with being knocked back. Accept that rejection is just a part of life, and paradoxically, you will emit an aura that causes you to be rejected less and less. This is the self-fulfilling prophecy that will prevent you from letting your fear of rejection ever control you again. Thanks for watching today's episode. In episode 85, I'll go through why I think women are unhappier than they have ever been before. Subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified when it drops. Catch you then.